Hey everybody. So last video I did a vlog about my visit to Zion National Park in Utah. And I had originally thought of doing a combined, like here's my vlog and then here's some tips to get the most out of the visit. And turns out I just completely forgot how much footage and how much fun I had at Zion. So when I finally started editing together that, I realized like this is more than one video. Um, so if you didn't see last video, I'll do a card here, can't remember. And that'll explain like, hey, here's my visit in August 2017 to Zion. And this video will actually break down how I felt about the park and tips for getting a better visit there. And also I might touch on some of my favorite photos there. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get that going.
Going to interrupt this video for a little bit. I'm going to write up this whole thing and put it in an article on my website in the blog. So if you like this video, or you think someone else may like this video or find it to be useful, please share it with them and also check out the article on my site. I think it would actually be more helpful there because it's easier to find the clickable links to resources like weather planning, places to stay, food to eat, where to get Wi-Fi, that kind of stuff. It'd be easier to get that access to that stuff there. And also in true YouTuber fashion, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you have suggestions for trails or anything like that, let me know in the comments. If you think someone else will like this video, share it with them. And if you really like my stuff and want to see more of me, please consider subscribing. I've got a lot more videos like this planned, I think. Okay, back to the video.
So I mentioned in the Bryce Canyon video that I had some existential crises, and wasn't sure if I was really having a good time on my solo trip cross country, right? When I went to Zion, I think like on my drive in, all of those thoughts went away. Like I really, really liked Zion when I even just driving there, it was a blast. I felt really revitalized when I visited the park, and it was just so much fun. Um, I think what was cool was I ended up meeting quite a few cool people when I was there. So I met um, there's a, I met a guy on a similar journey of like maybe a minor, maybe a major existential crisis, um, and I saw him when I went up to Observation Point, and it was cool just chatting with him and then seeing how he was doing. And let's see who else. I met this really cool mom and daughter when I was doing the Riverwalk, and they're really, really sweet. Um, so I actually still kind of messaged them on Facebook and Instagram because they're really cool people. So I hope to see them again soon because I'll even tag them on Facebook because they're really cool. But yeah. Um, let's see who else. When I was injured and took a day off and was hanging out in a coffee shop, I met a cool photographer. Um, at this point, I actually forget what his name was, and I'm pretty sure I know what it is, and I'll tag them, and I hope I get that right. I think it was John. Anyway, um, so when I visited Zion, I actually stayed in Watchman Camp inside the park. And I liked that a lot. It was really convenient, and it just made things a lot easier for me to handle and made it easy for me to kind of wake up a little bit later and take advantage of the park still. So I mentioned in the previous video that because Zion is basically all in a canyon, there's no real good sunrises. I'm sure someone will argue that with me, but I didn't feel pressured like I did in Bryce to wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning and then head up to a spot and set up. So in Zion, it was really nice to wake up like 7, and then, or maybe even 8 or 9, and then going to get some supplies and then coming back. So my first tip is actually you should know the park amenities before you go. So one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Watchman Camp was because it is very close to a couple bus stops. And in the summer, the roads are basically all restricted and they want you to take the shuttles. If you're driving, you can't go past, you can't actually go to where Angel's Landing, the trailhead is. I think your limit is the hotel, and that's only if you have a ticket to let you go to the hotel. So, um, one of the things was Washman Camp. Me getting the spot was actually extremely lucky. That spot's all, I believe, walk-in only. And I woke up really early in Bryce, tried to get sunrise pictures, and immediately drove down to Zion. Um, so I think I got there at about 8, I want to say, and I might have been the second to last person to get a walk-in site. Um, it gets really crowded in the summer. Like there's just too many people coming up. So for the walk-in reservation system, they'll tell you what time they start taking the reservations, but really the line starts way ahead of that. So you got to go like quite a few hours early. Um, let's see. And then I mentioned in the previous video that I waterlogged 2 cameras, and that was 100% true. So I'll actually stand a little bit for this one. I had an EOS M on me, and it was basically hanging on a strap like right here. I tightened up the strap as much as it could go. And when let's see if it will focus. All right. So when I was in the Riverwalk, I wanted to keep the EOS M ready so it could take some video. And I had been using my hiking pole as like to probe ahead of where I was gonna walk to make sure that it wasn't, a huge dip. And I had just missed this, like maybe one section about this big, just enough for my foot to go in there. And it was maybe like a foot and a half deep. Just enough for me to kind of dip down and then get the bottom of my camera into the water, and some water seeped into the battery compartment. That was it. I tried to let it dry out the next day, but when everything was all set and ready, like I put in a battery and all it did was like the LED would blink green and nothing else would turn on, and I was like, this thing's dead. My 645Z had a much cooler experience with the water, I guess, if you want to call it that. I was walking back from the Riverwalk, and then I had been walking on these rocks and had been fine, going like actually pretty fast. Like one tourist saw me just kind of trucking through, and he just, with my big camera, my 645Z, like hanging at my chest, and he just said, "You are a very confident man." The problem was all those little rocks can be very tricky when you're not really thinking about where you're walking, right? So as I'm powering through, something hit my lens cap. I think my strap or something like that. It hit my lens cap and it fell off into the water, and I was trying to fish for it. When I diverted all my attention away to fishing for it instead of focusing on my balance, that's when I slipped on a rock. And I could feel all my, like, I knew I was going in the water. So I tried to grab my camera, just hold it up as high as I could, like above my head and to the side. And I had it. I totally had it, right? Except the strap got caught on something on my bag and just stopped at about here. And I knew how much extra slack there was, and I tried to pull harder to free it. No good. So the camera came into the drink with me, and it was more insult to injury because I knew I saved it, or could have saved it if the strap was longer or wasn't caught. Yeah, I honestly, like, I came out of the water, I knew the camera was soaked. A bunch of people gave me like a look when they saw the water, or when they saw the camera come out of the water. I just shrugged and I was like, there's nothing I can do. It happened, I gotta move on, gotta get back anyway. For me, the hardest part was actually, I had my tripod, my travel tripod, in my dry bag, or on my dry bag. There were no tripod straps, so I actually tucked it behind behind my back and under the shoulder straps, and they sort of hung there. And when I fell down, I actually landed on that, and I had this like huge bruise on my hip from the tripod. Yeah, I actually remember when I was under the water, I actually had like I kind of like yelled in the water. Actually, maybe that's what people were looking at me for. Anyway, so my second tip is actually to go rent a dry bag, rent those canyoneering shoes, and that big walking stick. So I saw so many tourists like just go with flip-flops, and they could only go like maybe 2 steps every minute because all those rocks are really tiny and your flip-flops have no grip under the water. Um, you get no confidence or anything like that. I recommend the walking stick because I actually had like aluminum fancy trekking poles, and I said like I'm probably going to use these. And the a ranger and obviously the rental company, they looked at me when I said that and they said that's a horrible idea. Um, if you do that, you're just gonna mess up your pretty expensive hiking poles, like or trekking poles. The things we rent are it's basically just like a wooden stick, like a thick wooden stick. So it's really hard to break. I'm actually glad I rented their wooden stick because I actually 100% believe if I brought my aluminum trekking poles, it wouldn't have made it through the whole river walk. Um, and then the also, the hiking pole that they gave me, the bottom was all frayed because like it'd been pounding on all these little rocks for so long. So if you have a hiking stick that's made out of wood, if you like it, I probably wouldn't use it on the Riverwalk. If you don't mind messing it up, then just bring it. Um, the dry bag recommendation, really obvious, I think. Even if you're not going to bring camera stuff, so I think I put extra lenses and some other stuff in there for my camera, filters, and then the tripod attachment, and I wrapped it in like another layer and stuff. But even if you don't have a camera, it's really good to have the dry bag because you can put food and stuff in there, and extra layers because it can get kind of chilly, or just emergency supplies, that kind of stuff. If you brought food and you don't have a dry bag, if you fell in the water, like if you brought crackers, they're all gone, right? You just made like cracker sponges. um, so yeah, and related to that, because I mentioned how I kind of like water damaged two cameras, I would here's my tip three for the Riverwalk. The beginning part is super easy because it's all paved, right? Um, once you're in the river, maybe take it easy and enjoy it, right? So with the canyoneering shoes, it's a really easy hike. You don't have to go as fast as I did. I just wanted to see more of the canyon or of the yeah of the canyon. And it turns out like I may have needed to go that fast to get back on time, but probably not, right? Like I could have just at any point gone slower, excuse me, gone slower and just come back earlier. And I mentioned that in the spoilers, I really loved Zion, and yeah, I definitely want to go back. So obviously, I didn't do Angel's Landing because I was hurt. There's actually a number of trails I would love to see again. Um, so going up to Observation Point again, I'd love to see everything covered in snow. Kind of entertained the thought of doing that this year, and I never actually followed through on it. Um, other stuff like there's some backcountry areas that you need a permit, and I've seen these amazing photographs from those places because you get like I've never seen as much color as Zion can have. So in the valleys and the canyons, you can actually get like a surprising amount of blue and green, and you can get all these like rainbow mixes of color. And I've seen other photos of people finding these things, and I would love to check those out too. Um, one thing I missed was Emerald Pools, I believe it's called, in Emerald Falls. By the time I got there, I asked the ranger if it was a good idea to check it out, and the ranger said the hike is great, but there's no water, and whatever puddles and stuff are left are very grimy from people kind of like they're covered in sunscreen and all that kind of stuff, and they go in the water, and it gets pretty gross. So I think that was actually one of the reasons why I did Observation Point was because they said like maybe don't do Emerald. Um, so yeah, there's a bunch of hikes that I want to do that are still in the area, and I will finish on a fifth tip that is the same as in Bryce. You really got to check the weather when you're going to these slot canyoning parks. Um, so with Bryce, the danger is lightning. With Zion, the danger is flash flooding. So they can close, the rangers will try to close the river walk in the summer if they think that a flash flood will come that afternoon. Um, I think you should also be prepared for yourself because they may close the Riverwalk early, but if you want to do a later afternoon hike somewhere else and it starts raining, you can get caught in a flash flood. And I saw a couple of videos of like people basically trying to run from a flash flood. Ugh. That's a tongue twister. People trying to run from a flash flood. There we go. While they're like halfway up the hike, and it's not a fun. It does not look like a fun experience. So always check the weather. Um, and then always bring kind of like clothing and stuff appropriate for the weather too. So I think one big surprise for me was the Riverwalk was very cool, even though it was summer and high summer. I didn't expect to be actually fairly chilled throughout the entire time. I know there's the river and everything there, but I almost felt like shorts and t-shirt would have been fine for me because of staying active and all that kind of stuff. But it was really surprising. Like I had thought that maybe like a long sleeve shirt or something would be better, but I didn't need it. I ended up just keeping it wrapped around my camera gear. Um, so yeah, that's that sums up my trip to Zion. And then some 5 tips that you can use. They're super quick tips and they're mostly photo related, I know. Um, but yeah, I mentioned talking about my panorama picture. Um, I'll just save that for another video. I like panoramas a lot, and there's a lot of techniques that go into making a panorama, and I think maybe it'd be better to have that as a separate thing. So yeah, that's it for now. Hopefully I'll talk to you all again soon, and hope you're having a great day. All right, bye.